think we have enough knowledge on the continent to be able to solve our problems. We just need to share.
Learners look up to teachers a lot, and whatever we tell them, it stays with them.
It's about freedom to make mistakes, freedom for the teacher not to always be the expert, but the teacher say, okay, what do you think of that?
A lot of these investments in education, you don't see the result right away. It takes time to really see the progress and the impact.
When we do not leave any student behind, well, we support everybody. We're helping our own future.
We have encouraged them, we have supported them, we have empowered them, we have gone beyond, way ahead the Ghanaian society and even in our homes.
Bon système éducatif, c'est voir demain, c'est être généreux, c'est investir pour 15 ans, 20 ans, 25 ans. Et c'est d'élever l'éducation et refuser que l'éducation soit rangée dans des tiroirs sectoriels.
Education is one of the few decisions societies make whose impact ipamit is felt long after the classroom is empty. And every education system makes a promise to young people, to families, and to the future.
Nous avons malheureusement, très souvent, nous sommes passés à côté de la grande question de l'éducation que nous avons confondu très souvent à l'instruction. Donc ça se limitait à la discipline, à l'enseignement, à l'instruction, à une transmission de savoir.
Of pumping that blood so that the blood can reach to.
Mais aujourd'hui, c'est beaucoup plus profond et nous sommes donc dans ces grands chantiers. Du côté aussi de la formation professionnelle, il y a énormément d'efforts qui sont déployés par le ministère de la formation professionnelle. Rappelez ici qu'au Sénégal, nous avons l'enseignement supérieur, nous avons le ministère de l'Éducation nationale et la formation professionnelle.
But none of that works without the people who bring it to life, the teachers.
The Leaders in Teaching program is a program that started in 2018 with a vision to improve teaching and learning quality in the country, and particularly learning outcomes. The single most important factor that can drive or can improve the learning outcomes for young people, it's actually teachers. So teachers are the backbone, and so the program was designed to really look at the entire life cycle of a teacher. So looking at how they come into the profession, how they are trained, looking also at the school leadership that can guide teachers to improve the learning environment. And then finally, the motivation of teachers so that they can actually stay and be retained in the profession.
And for some teachers, it starts with passion.
I joined Leaders in Teaching under 2019. I was passionate. I was liking to help other students to learn new things. Yes, that really caused me that Leaders in Teaching helped me to reach on the way that was helping me to reach on the level of teaching.
In some places, that work has been unfolding for decades, guided by a belief that no learner should be left out.
It was started as a modest secondary school, and over the years, I think in 1984 specifically, we started the inclusive education. So we are 41 years today now in our inclusive education. And for our inclusivity, we have visually impaired students with us. We have a student population of a little over 3,500, and on the average, every year group has about 20 visually impaired students. So basically, we have about 60, not less than 60 visually impaired students on campus.
That kind of change doesn't happen in isolation.
Starting in 2021, the government of Ghana agencies came together, developed a plan to introduce a new curriculum, a curriculum written by Ghanaians. So Leaders in Teaching, LIT in Ghana, it is a Government of Ghana program led by the Ministry of Education, working in partnership with MasterCard Foundation, and then Transforming Teaching, Education and Learning, TTEL, as the lead implementing partner. It is a series of secondary education reforms that started in 2021 that is helping the Government of Ghana to develop an education system focused on critical thinking, communication, national values, collaboration.
Those systems only start to matter when people step into them, often not because they plan to, but because something pulled them in.
I went on early retirement to pursue teaching. To be honest, I didn't have teaching in mind. I just wanted to do something different. Then I realized when I got to the university, I engaged myself in everything teaching. I then realized I had a passion for teaching.
Edit RAM, set play Matador. Edit selected. Play text content control.
Most of the visual impaired students and graduates will go into teaching because we allow logistics to go into the other subject, businesses, sciences, and things like that. We heard in the news that there's going to be changes in the curriculum and new things are going to be done and things like that. I came face to face with it during the PLC, that's the Professional Learning Community thing that we do every week here. It was during the PLC sessions that I got introduced to the program.
Those sessions are also where support starts to show up in practical ways.
STELA program, it is a program that gave us a training on English proficiency as a teacher of secondary. After hearing that I'm going to do a English training, I was very happy.
What teachers feel in the classroom often mirrors what's happening at a much wider level.
On se rend compte que la jeunesse africaine, de façon générale, a besoin de changements profonds, tient absolument à participer. Et les autorités du Sénégal, conscients de ce changement de paradigme et de cette aspiration profonde de la société, sont en train d'accompagner le système éducatif. Et en mettant un accent particulier sur l'éducation des jeunes filles, l'éducation des jeunes garçons, et au niveau donc de l'enseignement secondaire, après pour les reverser vers le supérieur et la formation professionnelle. Donc aujourd'hui, le Sénégal est, par rapport à l'enseignement de base, l'éducation de base, dans une logique de réforme, je dirais même de refondation. Vous avez aussi entendu parler de l'agenda de transformation de l'enseignement supérieur. Là aussi, nous sommes dans une profonde réforme. Réforme aussi au niveau de l'enseignement professionnel. Tout ceci pour dire que nous sommes dans une logique de repenser, de reconsidérer donc l'éducation et en juxtaposant et en connectant la question de l'éducation à la grande question du patriotisme et des valeurs.
That kind of thinking only matters if it changes what schools actually do. You see those ideas most clearly in the way schools are run.
What we did in Ghana collaboratively with the Ghana Education Service, they introduced weekly professional learning community sessions. So in each of our 712 senior high schools across the country, the teachers come together for 90 minutes every week to learn about the new curriculum, to learn about pedagogy, about group work, about social and emotional learning, about how to integrate ICT so that the curriculum can be implemented as planned.
I thought I had it all to be a teacher. So I entered purposely because it was mandatory and you need to be certified in order to start your service. So that was the mindset I had going in. But I think it changed on the second day because all the trainings we had seasoned facilitators who came to take us through all we needed to know before entering the classroom. It was 2 weeks, but it was very intense.
As teaching starts to change, the way learning is assessed has to change with it.
And secondly, on assessment, the West African Examinations Council have been a fantastic beacon for change in this area. when we looked at the WAS that we've been writing in the past, 90% of the questions have been focused on rote memorization and recall. That's why we have the chewing, pouring, passing, and forgetting. But WIAC have written a new WAS where only 30% of the questions are focused on memorization, 40% are focused on the skills of conceptual understanding, and 30% are focused on critical thinking and extended problem solving. So what that means is when you put that into the system and teachers are being trained on assessment, there's a new continuous assessment system so that when learners complete senior high school in 2027, if they want to go to tertiary education, they have to bring a school transcript that talks about their behavior, their performance, as well as just having the final WAS certificate. Once those things are put in place, I'm very confident that we will see a transformation of teaching and learning in Ghana.
Elsewhere on the continent, the same question is being asked. How do you connect knowledge to real competence?
So I think that the policy of the country has been really geared towards promoting this kind of learning, right? Competency-based learning, for instance.
Right.
The introduction of this way of learning was geared to sort of like promote where you learn and you become competent, fully increase the competency in the subject. But the way in which that happens, as I indicated, is to actually connect the mind and the hands. You learn by doing. And I think that's sort of like what we've been trying to do.
When you look at how students learn in terms of math, in terms of sciences, the teachers need to be equipped in terms of the mastery of these subjects. Of course in primary school, but especially in secondary school, where some of these subjects become even more complex. And in a world where we know that young people, for them to learn, you need to vary how they learn, bring in digital tools, bring in experiential examples, and so on. We had partnerships that were actually driving that and really also ensuring gender responsive teaching.
I didn't know that I needed to even share them into groups when it comes to, so I can bring a topic, share them into small groups, get them to do presentations and all that, maybe instantly, or we give them some 2 or 3 minutes to put their thoughts together. So it's really changed how I deliver my lessons. Back then, maybe I'll just come to class, talk. Do you understand? Yes, madam. Do you understand? Yes, madam. And then we call it a day. But I think it's really changed how I deliver my lessons.
That shift works well in many classrooms. But it also raises questions about who it works for.
For a very long time, persons with disabilities have been afterthoughts. Provisions are made for regular students without any budget line, without any support for the visually impaired students. This new program is heavy on inclusion and the introduction of especially mathematics and science to visually impaired students. We tried in the past, but we've not been very successful. And so when they mentioned that as part of this program, we're going to introduce mathematics, well, I was wondering if this time we could, make it.
The inclusive nature of our school demands that our visually impaired students also have classes in the otherwise conventional classrooms with sighted students. So what it means is that they take subjects that are not so much quantitative. They take liberal subjects, general arts. They are limited in the kind of subjects that they can take. For me, as a social being, as society is gradually driving towards inclusive society, so we would come to respect and appreciate and encourage, empower minority views.
Even with those limits, Schools are trying to include as many learners as they can.
For us at Okuapamai School, I think we have gone beyond, way ahead the Ghanaian society, and even in our homes, where some homes are so patriarchal, it is only the man's voice. We have gone ahead to include our minority handicaps students, if you will permit me to use that word.
If young people are to be ready for life and work, that preparation has to start early.
Il ne faut pas attendre, nous pensons, que l'enfant soit dans la formation professionnelle ou dans le secteur de la formation professionnelle pour commencer à l'habituer ou à le familiariser donc avec certaines technologies ou certaines formations. Très tôt, il doit être décomplexé. Très tôt, il doit apprendre, surtout au niveau donc secondaire, à porter, à comprendre, à se familiariser donc avec certaines professions. Et il y a un engagement très profond parce que on connecte cette question-là des sciences, cette question de la scolarisation, de la performance scolaire, à la grande question, encore une fois, des valeurs. Nous sommes convaincus que c'est l'intangible qui façonne le tangible, que ce sont les valeurs qui vont façonner donc cette société-là, parce que en Afrique et au Sénégal, pour parler du Sénégal, le problème ce sont les valeurs. Nos rapports à la discipline, nos rapports au travail, nos rapports aux autres, nos rapports à l'environnement, et ce que nous appelons l'unité. Unité en Wolof veut dire être humain.
The vision is to ensure that we have a country where all young people, regardless of where they were born or where they went to primary or junior high school, where all young people are able to complete senior high school, prepared for further study, to enter the world of work and for adult life. So that means making sure they have a rounded education so that they are responsible citizens, as well as just having the content knowledge.
This way of thinking raises expectations, and schools have to respond to them.
The irony of our story is that it has not come easy. The challenge with us is equipping the IT lab to meet their daily demands. Quite apart from that, we have introduced mathematics for the first time for visually impaired students. The unique nature of them and the demands and the introduction of an unknown subject, otherwise unknown subjects to them, places a great deal of demand in terms of resource for them.
What they're describing is the reality many schools are working through, where expectations are rising, but resources don't always rise at the same pace.
So there are a number of very significant challenges. I think the first is the inequity in the system. We have a very, very considerable range of learners in senior high school. So one of the great things about Ghana now with the free senior high school policy is that anybody can benefit from secondary education, regardless of what they did before. But then it means that we have many learners, particularly in some of our more remote schools, who are not able to read and write effectively. There are also issues of gender inequity. 75% of our senior high school teachers are male. There's a real need for more female teachers, more role models. We've supported the government to introduce a postgraduate diploma in education, a PDG in pedagogy, and we're providing scholarships, particularly to young women, to be able to go and teach subjects such as STEM, engineering, social studies, where we have a shortage, to try to redress that balance in the system and ensure that we have more female teachers in our senior high schools.
I think one of the challenges I had was when I developed the passion for teaching, I had wanted to go back to school to pursue it. But where are the funds? Who was I going to tell? They had taken me through nursing. I decided to quit. I've now chosen a passion. Because when I was quitting nursing, everyone was like, why would you want to quit a profession that gives you a ready job? As a family woman, you cannot just come back from work and then have your laptop in front of you that you are learning. So the divided attention and then the workload. It got to a point I almost gave up.
Sharita's experience isn't unique. Across schools, teachers describe different moments where their commitment is tested.
Convincing teachers that Francine is going to teach a secondary student, yet she looks like young one. Teaching the students who are with the same age, almost the same age, was the biggest problem. Just convincing my fellow teachers was the biggest problem.
The challenges teachers describe don't stop at the classroom door. They shape the kind of systems that need to be built around them.
It's more than connecting schools. It's connecting schools, but it's also use of data. We find that a lot of this curriculum, for example, yes, they're digitized, they're made available to students, but they're not very interactive. So we want to up the game, so to speak. We want to make it more interactive. We want to make sure that we have a system that can fully be a hybrid system, that learners can use it, and therefore is sustainable. And God forbid we have another COVID-19, the learners are not completely cut out of learning. So that's the kind of system we want to build. And that's going to require, retuning of the policy, but also a more investment in this space. And that's what the government is trying to do.
Nous sommes en train, avec l'appui justement du département ministériel donc du numérique, nous sommes en train de nous organiser pour assurer la connectivité à toutes ces écoles. Mais au-delà de la question de la connectivité, c'est la digitalisation des salles de classe, parce que les enjeux ne sont pas les mêmes. Donc il y a la question de la connectivité, il y a la question aussi donc de la digitalisation donc des salles de classe. Et la digitalisation, on n'attend plus, on n'attend pas que la connectivité soit présente partout pour assurer donc la digitalisation des salles de classe. Avec la digitalisation, donc on peut avoir des tablettes embarquées, on peut avoir donc des possibilités extraordinaires, des contenus pédagogiques, didactiques qui permettent à l'enfant d'accroître donc sa performance, d'accélérer sa performance et faciliter aussi le travail donc de l'enseignant.
That urgency is shared across borders.
We have supported the government of Ghana to introduce the first ever Ghanaian Sign Language curriculum. That's been written and approved by NACA, and from this academic year, it will be rolled out all the way from primary school through to senior high school. So it means that you'll be able to take Ghanaian Sign Language as the 13th Ghanaian language in lessons. We've also worked to identify all the visually impaired teachers in the country. We have 123 visually impaired senior high school teachers. They've been provided with learner materials in Braille, and we've also provided them with laptops, assistive devices, so that they're able to participate fully in the professional learning communities and what's going on. And we've also introduced the first mathematics curriculum for the blind at senior high school. That's being piloted in Okupama Senior High School.
You really see it day to day in what students are now able to use and access.
Yeah, so far so good. Students they now have access to all the materials, all the handouts, pamphlets. They even have some access to the internet now, so they're able to research on their own. They're able to use their computer. In fact, as they're writing the WASI now, I think about 80% are using computers to write their WASI, which was not the case during our time.
What begins with access and resources often leads somewhere else. For many teachers, it changes how they see themselves.
So it's taught me that I can actually do anything I put my mind to. There are no limitations. So I think it's boosted my confidence. It's taught me how to do a lot more research than I usually would do.
And for learners, the classroom itself begins to feel different.
If you go to a classroom today, you'll see the learners working in groups. They are set an assignment, set a topic by the teacher, then they'll do their own independent research. So learning has become much more interactive, learning has become much more practical, and learning has become much more focused on Ghanaian culture and value.
Education is truly the bedrock of any society, right? And teachers really hold the key. They hold the key to help unlock learning, and young people can then be inspired, can discover themselves, they can discover their surroundings. So yes, teachers, keep doing what you're doing because you're doing an amazing job. And we're here to support you, and we trust you.
That trust is echoed across institutions, working hand in hand to sustain change.
We should all support this new intervention to ensure that everybody, is able to go through When we do not leave any student behind, when we support everybody, we're helping our own future.
The world is evolving, and once you are not tech inclined, you are going to be left behind. So I think more facilities should be put in place to include technology in teaching.
We want to be able to create an environment where our children can learn and can prosper, can acquire knowledge, can acquire skills. That's where we're starting from. And then from there, we realize, how can they do that? How can they use technology to even improve that learning process? And once we understand that, we can then say, what kind of technology should they be using? Is there a technology that understands where they're coming from, right? Or is it a generic technology that might be using realities that does not match their own realities?
That question demands long-term thinking, beyond projects, beyond sectors.
Et malheureusement, ça ne rime pas avec un bon système éducatif. Un bon système éducatif, c'est voir demain, c'est être généreux, c'est investir pour 15 ans, 20 ans, 25 ans. Et c'est d'élever l'éducation et refuser que l'éducation soit rangée dans des tiroirs sectoriels. C'est donner toute la dignité donc à l'éducation. Mais j'invite aussi mes collègues à se libérer, à être beaucoup plus libre dans la pensée, dans la façon de faire, et renouer avec l'endogénéité, avec ce que nous sommes. Les grandes nations, en misant sur l'éducation, l'ont réussi parce qu'ils ont surtout misé, au-delà donc des disciplines telles que la science ou autres, ils ont misé sur des valeurs de discipline, des valeurs, ils ont redéfini le rapport à l'environnement, le rapport à leur histoire, le rapport à leur futur.
And that future, increasingly, must be shaped from within.
The future is very exciting. A lot of these investments in education, you don't see the result right away. It takes time for you to be able to see, to really see the progress and the impact, thanks to the Ministry of Education that has also set the bar high, because again, we come in as a Leaders in Teaching program to support, as the MasterCard Foundation, but we are supporting a vision of the country.